All right, welcome to the Holistic Ascent podcast today, all. Today I have a very special guest on the show, and we're doing a little bit different of a setup, as you can see if you're watching this. But this is my husband, Taylor.
Yo.
And yeah, we just wanted to change things up, bring him onto the show, talk all things entrepreneurship, being married to someone who's like a little bit of a health nerd and likes to go into all these different things. But let's start out with a little cheers here.
Here we go.
What do you have in your glass, babe?
Creatine, electrolytes, sparkling water, apricot nectar, grapefruit juice.
Oh, wow.
And cherry tart.
Wow. Look at this.
It's excellent.
Trained him well. No, but
Yeah, no more.
Great. I love it because it's a mineral mocktail, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. Love it. It's a little bit better than the monsters I used to drink 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think we were just talking about this recently. Like if I tried to drink one sip of a Monster, it'd be too much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I could stomach it.
You'd die. Yeah.
I would die.
Your heart.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
Well, what other bad health habits did you used to have?
I don't know. In high school, I used to just play. Well, I played football though, and then had an MCL, and then just started playing a ton of video games. Got super chubby. I remember ate hot Cheetos with lemon and drank Mountain Dew like crazy and Monsters, and then started getting fit right when I was going into college. So got pretty into it at that point.
Then you put away the Monsters and the
yeah at that time yeah totally. I've not really had a hot Cheeto since, you know.
Oh my gosh. Well, I remember when we first met, literally you would fast until, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
You would have black coffee,
Yep.
and then you would fast until almost noon or something. And then all you would eat was chicken and rice in your air fryer. You put it in for like 20 minutes.
Yep.
I don't think I ever saw you really eat vegetables.
Yeah. Yeah, no joke. I in fact, pretty funny. I remember, I don't know, this was maybe like 6 months before we met. I remember going on a date with this gal. She opens my fridge, goes, "Oh, do you have any snacks?" and opens the fridge, and there's like nothing in there.
So weird.
Exactly. There was nothing in there besides like a thing of mustard, and she was legit. She got like freaked out by it. And she was like,
"Me?
No,
too."
Maybe you did. No, maybe you did. But like I could tell that she had like a vibe shift. That she was like, and I'm just like, I just eat out every single meal. I would go downstairs to this little Bab Cafe, this little Korean spot, and I would just never eat, and it would just be chicken and rice every day. I'd fast until noon, chicken, rice, have bath for dinner, go to bed.
So crazy.
Yeah.
And then I came into your life and I was like, no, we need to eat like more structured meals, more vegetables, more fruits. Like, come on.
Yeah, right.
And I remember you admitting at one point that you actually felt like you had better energy and resilience once you started doing that.
Yeah. Well, I think intermittent fasting was good for a time period, but even thinking back, I remember learning that I would need to like cycle in regards to like do like 3 weeks and then have 1 week where you don't do it. And I remember just being so ingrained into a habit that that I just didn't do any cycling. And so I'm looking back, I'm like, it probably would have been fine. I mean, I think you've told me that some fasting for men is okay versus women.
I mean, I really see a lot in my practice and the things that I do that men can tolerate fasting pretty well. Mm-hmm. It's like the men's hormone cycle is totally different than a woman's hormone cycle. And so we throw fasting into the mix with women's hormones, and a lot of things are going to be affected, like the blood sugar and just cortisol and things like that. But for men, it seems like sometimes it can actually be really valuable in certain seasons and for periods of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the main thing is like paying attention to it. Because like when I think back to that time, I remember being like incredibly, like at first it was excellent. Especially like just fitness, mental clarity. But then like, I don't know when along the line, like I think it just slowly became more exacerbated. But after doing it for like a year or two straight with, once again, no cycling, I mean, I just remember being like just having like mental fog, like all the time. Like I just couldn't
Mm.
think. And I think it was because of that, just doing it all the time. Like now I'll like forget to have breakfast sometimes, and I will feel really good, but I'll still hit 11 o'clock and I'm like, I need to eat, and I'll get that mental fog again. So,
Totally.
just got to pay attention to your body, right? Something you taught me.
Right. Yeah, you've become way more in tune with your body. It's so awesome.
Yeah, actually, you know what it means when I'm hungry? Where before it was just like, I'm hungry. No, I think you're just bored.
Hey, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I just talked about that in a podcast episode I recorded a few weeks ago too.
Yeah.
But it's just so crazy how like men's and women's health and all of these things are just so different. Like you can operate really well off of 6-7 hours of sleep at night, whereas I
Yeah.
need like 8 to 10 hours a night.
Yeah.
It goes back to all the hormones and everything like that.
And if I really need to, I can do 3 hours in a single time though.
Yeah, not.
And I usually
not
need a nap though too. Yeah.
Yeah, most
But if I need
definitely.
to, yeah.
Okay, I remember also like when we were first dating, you were always wearing Apple AirPods, but you
Yeah, this
also
one's huge.
you also used to say often like you had brain fog and you would have these recurrent headaches.
Yeah.
And do you think it was from the AirPods?
Yeah, quite a bit. The AirPods thing is funny to me because as you pointed out, you were just like, just read the labels that they
Yeah.
give you. Like they directly tell you that it shouldn't touch your skin. And I was
Yeah.
like, what? And then I remember actually reading it myself and being like they say not to wear
Yeah.
them, basically, which is just super funny. And so, yeah, I just remember feeling like my head was more weighty. I don't know, something like that.
Well, yeah, and it's just like an Apple iPhone. It literally says, "Don't put this right next to your head," because of you're like, it's a cell phone. What the heck?
Yeah, it says not to rest it against your head. Yeah.
And I mean, now there's been long-term research showing, like, yes, these things can cause throat cancer and brain cancer and all of these things, and that's absolutely terrifying. So, what did you go to after the Apple AirPods?
I mean, I just do wired stuff now.
Yeah.
Super easy. I have zero issues. I'll have an earbud in all day sometimes and
Right.
zero issues whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah, and you said your headaches went away after you started switching
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
wired headphones, which is so crazy that you noticed that like drastic difference.
Yeah, I've converted many of my friends to wired
Yes.
headphones from AirPods.
Success.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't know, Taylor is in the tech world a little bit. Do you want to tell them a little bit more about what you do? You own your own company.
Do you want to try? Do you want to try first?
Okay,
I wonder what you would
this
say.
is what I tell people. When people ask what
Yeah.
my husband does, I literally say, or he owns his own tech company. You should look at his LinkedIn to find out what he does. He's a big guy on LinkedIn. If you didn't know, you should go follow him.
Meh. There's a
He's
lot
like
more bigger people.
okay,
but
like on Instagram, there's influencers and stuff. Taylor's like an influencer on LinkedIn, pretty much.
I don't know if I would say that, but yeah.
Well, I think so.
Maybe.
Okay, well, tell them what you do.
I appreciate it, but yeah, I consult companies right now on how to. I mean, the easiest way to simplify it is I help companies send a ton of emails at scale, typically cold emails, where we don't send spam, so we don't send a bunch of useless stuff to just everybody who can hear it, but we're able to write one-on-one emails to people using AI. So I basically consult and work with a ton of different tech company sales team. I mean, we're recording on Riverside Software. They're a client of mine. And we work with a lot of other big companies, and we basically just help them implement proper tech stacks to actually deliver their emails. And then second thing is, I mean, I have a client right now where we send 2 to 4 million emails a month for them, and every single email is written for the recipient. It gives them context that's specifically written to them, like, hey, we have this AI inbox tool. It'll help you work through if it's a realtor, it'll specifically reference realty within the context of those meetings. So when you're closing things or deals going into escrow, you won't miss those emails. It'll actually put little pieces like that inside of the email at scale. So I basically just help sales teams implement AI and automation using cold email for all their outbound and help them not land in the spam folder as they do it.
It's so okay. It's so much. It's like so opposite of the health world. It's super cool.
Yeah.
I literally don't even understand what he does fully, but it's super cool because he built his own company just from the ground up and just figured this stuff out. Like, I remember just over a year ago, he had automated his sales job that he had. And then he's like, oh, I guess I'm really good at this. Like, he had this salary and wasn't even working and so he used that time that he freed up to build his company. And I just think that's super cool. So, but it is funny because we are on like opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, you're in tech and all these electronics and stuff, and I'm over here in the health world. So I'm interested to hear you share with the audience like how you have implemented a lot of different holistic health things into the tech world in what you do on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think one thing is like we aren't being smothered in Wi-Fi right now. That's the first thing that comes to mind. We have I piped in. So we have so when we were digital nomads for like, I don't know, 2-3 years all across the U.S. We'd have a Starlink, so I could be in the middle of the desert mountain biking and pop into the trailer real quick, do a quick meeting with somebody, pop the blazer off, go right back to mountain biking. And so set up the Starlink on a 30-foot flagpole out here because we're in Idaho and got all these trees. And so you got to go above that. So that goes into a cord that's under the ground, goes into the house, goes into an electric box that then splitters it all out. And then now we have hardwire Ethernet everywhere. So we aren't smothered in that, I like that a lot. And it's faster internet anyway. So it's a win-win no matter what way.
Yeah, literally, we have like all our computers plugged in right now, and they're just, you can see they're all hardwired.
Yeah.
So what Taylor did is he pretty much mapped out our house for the electricians, and then he had them come in and put these Ethernet ports into the walls in various spots. So we just have these cords, and if we want to use our phones, we can keep them in airplane mode. And if we want to use our computers, we can just plug them in and just not have that Wi-Fi radiating us in our house.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the interesting thing about the Wi-Fi too is it's been a very long time since I've heard ringing in my ears.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
It's this thing like you notice it too. Like whenever you used to turn on like a tube TV or whatever when I was a kid, you could hear that ringing. It's almost that same type of ringing that I would constantly hear.
Yeah.
And like I just haven't heard it in months ever since we did it, you know?
Yeah, that made me feel like not so crazy when you told me you notice it too, because I am so sensitive. Well, currently during this season of life, I want to build my resilience some more, but I'm so sensitive to all the EMFs and radiation. If I'm driving and we're traveling somewhere, my ears will randomly start ringing and I'll know that there's a 5G tower nearby. And literally, I'd say 99% of the time, I'll look around and I'm like, oh, there's the 5G tower right there. And that's just how sensitive we are, like, to these wavelengths. And so just having the Wi-Fi router, like, in our house all the time, that just kind of freaked me out, especially because we're in a really tiny home. And we just like finished this huge remodel. Well, almost. We're almost finished with a huge remodel.
So close to being done.
So close. Just got to get the trim done. But essentially, we moved into this house, I guess, a year and a few months ago now.
Yep, 14 months.
Yeah. And we've learned a lot of lessons about home ownership from it.
Yeah.
It was a week after we bought the house, and we reached out to our realtor about some major complaints of things that weren't disclosed to us. And she literally was like, well, I can help you guys sell the house. And we were like, a week after we bought our first house in North Idaho. Yeah, so it's been a year. Pretty much.
It was great though. But if I didn't have that, well, I wouldn't. I wish your health wouldn't have taken such a hit that it did. But like, it was great motivation. It gave me the drive I needed this last year to actually like scale my company and 13x it over the last year. You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would have necessarily had that drive. I would have been pretty comfortable. You know?
Yeah, I think it is hard when you are comfortable in life to really push yourself in different ways, no matter what it is.
Yeah. I think it's kind of a difference between you and I. Sometimes I don't know. We probably agree on it, but we use the wrong words. It's like how I view stress is like a really good thing. And you just hate that I think that way sometimes.
I think my view of stress is very, Yeah, like some stress is really good. And that's a huge emphasis that I like to focus on in my practice is helping other people increase their resiliency and like figuring out how I can increase my resiliency because there are so many stressors in today's day and age, from EMFs to blue lights and screens and environmental toxins and all this stuff. We have this running joke where Taylor's like, oh, the only safe thing to eat is ice because that's
Salted ice.
non-toxic. Oh yeah, add some salt on top of your ice. And then I was joking because we went and ate out for a date night a few weeks ago and I ordered my ice water without ice because if you're really sensitive to molds, which we have been after this year, you do not want to get ice at restaurants because those ice machines are nasty. I've worked in multiple restaurants and those ice machines are never cleaned. And even if you do clean them, it's almost impossible to get them totally clean and get all the mold out.
Yeah.
So
I'm just laughing because I'm just imagining everyone watching this getting paranoid about ice now.
Well, I don't want,
Which is the funny joke because I'm always like, ice is the only healthy thing, I guess.
Hey, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger sometimes.
Yeah.
But if mold is already literally killing you from the inside
it's different.
maybe stray away from the restaurant ice for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's kind of like I've heard, and I think I agree with this. I've heard that, like, if I'm going to think about my future son and my future daughter, right? When I think about the boy, I want him to have a tough life. Like, I want him to go through tough things so he develops character. But for a girl, I don't think that's the best path. Like, you don't want her to have no strife, right? But like, I wouldn't wish her to like really struggle and like go through painful experiences.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I remember one time your brother 4 years ago when I first met him went through a heartbreak, and you were like, oh, like I feel, and I was like, this is great for him. A heartbreak is like one of the best things in the world that can happen for a guy, right? So I do think there is a big difference between like stress for a guy, and there's obviously a bound that is way too much, but like stress for a guy versus stress for a gal, it's like I think that they are very different.
Right. I would totally agree. And I think a lot of the hormones have to do with how we react to stress and respond to stress and how cortisol is converted in our bodies. And I just think there's so many factors there. A little bit of stress is certainly good. I mean, especially like I learned a lot when I was in my master's program and we were doing high altitude exercise physiology. And we were literally all about like, kind of in this biohacking world where we were like, how do we increase athletes' performance without using steroids and drugs and stuff like this? And a lot of it had to do with exposing people to these other stressors to make them stronger and to help them cross acclimatize. Like we found out that if we had someone going in a sauna regularly or training in a really hot, heated environment, that cross adapted them to better adapt to high altitudes and things like that. And so I do think that stress is good to a certain degree to help in these ways. But I think I've also realized, especially this last year, that when we were exposed to all the environmental toxins in our home, we found out our home, if you haven't heard our story, you should go listen to my mold episode that was posted the week before this one.
Yeah.
But essentially, we found out when we got our small house in North Idaho that it had been smoked in for a very long time. There was literally nicotine dripping down the walls. These walls behind us, when we first bought this house, were yellow and like had goopy. It was so disgusting. I can't even explain it. But it was gross. And so we started trying to remediate it ourselves. And then that's when both of us started to get pretty sick. Taylor actually had a chronic cough and he was coughing for a few months straight. And we were
2-3
like,
months.
yeah, we were like, wow, this is so weird. Why is this cough not
When I
going
did,
away?
I got sick, and so I thought it was just a residual cough, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember I talked to a buddy, and I just started walking around the neighborhood for like 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I was like, hey, bro, have I coughed one time on this call? And he goes, no. And I'm like, because I was just working in here at the what's now our kind of dining room area.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then I think we went away for a weekend, or maybe it was just me. We had a lot of different travel things last year, but I had so many things going on, like my lymph nodes were all swollen, and then I had all these gut issues. And if you would have talked to me just a couple months prior, I would have said my health was the best it had been in years. My endurance was up. I didn't have any food allergies for the first time in all of my 20s, which was amazing. And I felt really great. I felt pretty good and in shape and everything. And then it just came all crumbling down here. And I went away for a few weekends and my lymph nodes went down. My gut felt better. It wasn't great, but it still felt better. And then my thyroid, which had been getting swollen, it would go down when I would go on these trips. And so that's when we realized, like, okay, there's something in our environment, in our house, that's making us sick. And then I had gone away for another week or something on another trip, and all my clothes in one of the corners of the house had grown mold on them.
Yeah.
And then that's when we realized, oh, we're dealing with a mold issue here, and went down that whole rabbit hole. So then we started to totally gut our house and redo all of that. So that's been the journey last year. So still got a little bit more remediation to do, though, so that'll be fun. Let's see. Let's rapid fire some random health questions. I think this will be fun.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Favorite healthy drink?
Creatine with electrolytes in the water with a little splash of lemon.
Why do you like creatine so much? I feel like you talk about it a lot.
Creatine's huge. Yeah, well, okay, you're gonna quiz me now. I wasn't ready for that, but no. So creatine helps, like, when you go to lift, you're gonna have more water in your muscles. The other thing, though, I think that's really huge, and this is even more important for women versus men, is that it helps with processing stress, and more specifically with women, it helps with neuroticism. So neuroticism being your emotional volatility or your swinging of emotions. There's a lot of data right now that's saying that creatine is really good for that. And so it's really good for just like being calm, which I'm already fairly stoic, right?
Yeah.
Like there's tons of times where I feel like you're like mad about something and then like you'll get more mad about it because I'm just chill. Like I swear there's times where you're just like, why aren't you angry? And I'm just like, I'm chill. I'm just not getting my emotions raised. And I think creatine actually helps me do that. Or I've seen from the day that it does that. And that's something I'm already strong at,
Right.
So the whole neuroticism thing is a really big thing, just for it has a lot of mental benefits. And then on top of that, it's just great for building muscle. And yeah, so why not have it? And there's literally no downsides to it. You can't do, I mean, I'm sure you can do too much, but I mean, you can do 5 grams a day, but now there's new studies coming out that you can do like 20 grams a day.
Oh, wow.
And that's even more advantageous for men, specifically, I believe. And so it's just like, why not have it? It just has a ton of pros and no cons. And I just add it to my water every single day.
I don't actually mind creatine. I'll just dump a little bit of it in my coffee or my tea.
The flavorless, whatever one you get from whatever lab or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. What kind of electrolytes do you use?
Crucial 4.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, they're dope.
We like that brand because it's just it's sea minerals and then it's salt, really high quality Icelandic flake salt that has a bunch of other minerals in it too.
Yeah, it's great.
No crap like the element stuff. I don't even know how to say that, but
yeah, I know they just got dinged.
Their stuff is so bad. I mean, people think it's healthy, but they have the natural flavors, and I guess they have a crap ton of maltodextrin in them.
Yeah, whatever that is,
which irritates the gut. And
is that the thing that got came out in a study like a couple? Oh, yeah, of course they have stevia in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't tolerate stevia very well. I don't know if other people can. But
anything that's 0 calories, it's like, oh,
yeah,
you're just not paying the price, which you should.
Yeah, and stevia has actually been previously used in the past for birth control for people. It's like, do I really want to be consuming that every day in my electrolytes? I don't think so. So yeah, I love Crucial 4's electrolytes because they're just super straightforward like that. Favorite protein-rich meal?
Chicken and rice. Still, like that is the easiest, just go to. Okay, I don't know. Okay. So actually, let's go through maybe different tiers. So for breakfast, just getting scrambled eggs and cheese. For lunch, probably chicken and rice for sure. But then an acai bowl with some grass-fed whey protein, excellent. Uh, for dinner, maybe salmon, steak,
Yeah.
simple go-tos. And then for dessert, the creamy.
Oh, the
Without a doubt,
creamy.
the creamy is like the best invention
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, the Ninja Creamy is great. You can just
Oh yeah.
load up some Greek yogurt. I don't even like Greek yogurt, but I actually like it when I make it in the creamy because
Yeah.
it literally tastes like froyo.
Yeah. If you don't know what a creamy is, it does something magical, but you basically just take some Greek yogurt. You can throw in, I mean, you can add some sweets, like just a little bit to like make it a little bit more tasteful or whatever. You can load in more protein and then it just stirs it up, pop it in the freezer after 24 hours, pop it into the machine, and it just stirs it up and turns it into frozen yogurt or ice cream texture. And it tastes exactly like ice cream, but the whole tub has like 100 grams of protein in it.
Yeah.
It's
It's like a protein bomb.
Yeah, it's nothing futz. It's great.
Yes. Okay. Let's see. Favorite holistic health tools.
Holistic health tools. I don't know. I feel like one of the best things I ever did was wearing barefoot shoes
Oh yeah.
and really strengthening my feet because I used to be. I remember going to like is it orthopedic? And so I remember going to an orthopedic thing when I was a kid, and they were like, "Oh, you're flat-footed. You need to get this plastic insert in your shoe to like
Yeah.
pop up your arch." And I'm like, "Okay, that's what I have to do." And it was like, "No, my feet are just weak. They just needed to be strengthened." Because I wear all these shoes that they support you so much that the arch of your foot never actually gets worked out,
Mm-hmm.
so you never actually get strength. And so I remember, I don't know, was it like 2 Christmases ago, 3 Christmases ago, something like that. I think you got me like some Vivo shoes and then this like cork half circle thing that you could land on and like this like toe separate because my toes were like all crazy, just like everyone's toes are. But now, I actually have like feet. They actually like grip the ground, and I'm actually stable. And wearing barefoot shoes has been one of the. And the thing is too, is that when you're flat-footed, when you have the arch, like this, when you don't have the arch, your feet rotate down, so your knees buckle.
Yeah.
They buckle in, and to compensate, my hip would twist, which would then cause my spine to curve more. And so it was like this whole thing where like I had bad posture, my back would always ache, and it was literally just because I had weak feet.
That's crazy.
Like just the weirdest thing. But I do not wear any other shoes now besides Vivos.
Yeah, that's true. I
That's
haven't
it.
seen you wear. Yeah.
I will not touch anything else ever again. Like there's just no way.
Yeah. Yeah, we wear the Jesus sandals, the Earth Runners.
Earth Runners are dope.
All summer long.
Yeah.
We literally will go trail running in our Earth Runners. And people will make fun of us on the trail, but worth it.
I mean, a lot of them are wearing chacos where they just slap their feet everywhere.
Oh my gosh. Okay, other tools?
Other tools. I don't know. I really like the red light thing. I feel like there's a benefit there. I mean, or lights, I don't know if we can do this thing, but so they're like in a daytime mode now. Toggle them. Now it's in, what is it, twilight or something?
Yeah.
And then they have this.
Yeah, so you can kind of
mode,
see the.
But you can see it way better on your
glare.
camera.
Well, I also have these lights in here right now that are on us.
Oh, these are also super light.
Yeah, we decked our house out because we pretty much redid everything. So we were like, let's make it as healthy and restful and restorative as possible. So we put circadian rhythm lighting in our whole house. And if you wear the red lens blue light blockers at night, it literally, unless you're looking at your computer or your phone after the sun's gone down, you don't really need them if you're in your house, if you have the circadian rhythm lights, because it just makes everything like that. And it actually makes you tired.
Yeah. And even if you don't believe in like the hippie howdy doody stuff when it comes to that, it's just the nature of your environment being just kind of orange or just your eyes seeing that. Like it genuinely just makes falling asleep so much easier.
Yeah.
And so like even if the circadian stuff is just a bunch of wah whatever stuff, which I don't know.
Well, I don't think it is because it actually like mimics what happens in nature.
I'm just saying even if it is, it's like, oh well, it makes me sleepy, so I don't care.
So it works.
Yeah, it's great. Well, because I used to be a night owl.
Yeah.
Right? So like anything, and there's certain times where like the other night The other night this happened, and this isn't like, this is just how my brain works. I go to lay down at like 7 o'clock. So I'm like, oh, I can go to bed right now. So I'm going to do it. And I go to lay down, and then you're like, oh, did you let the goats out? And I was like, dang it. And immediately, the second I laid there, my brain immediately turned right back on, and I couldn't fall asleep until midnight again.
So
You know?
sad.
And the thing is, I bet if I would have put my glasses on or changed the lights, probably could have helped. But it's just, I need to do everything I can to help me actually go to sleep.
Yeah.
Because I'm naturally a very huge night owl.
Yeah, I feel like both of us, we fall asleep pretty quickly once we lay down in bed. I can't say
Well,
we
even
really
this
struggle.
thing is this a holistic health tool?
Yeah, you can talk about it.
Because you can airplane mode it, right?
Yeah.
So like it actually is pretty holistic because it can still like measure everything and yeah. But like I mean, it'll tell me I fall asleep on average between like 10 to 15 minutes.
He's talking
Oh
about
yeah,
his aura ring that he's
yeah,
wearing on his finger.
yeah. It's this thing's dope.
Yeah, I feel like that's been really helpful for you to also become more in tune with your body.
Yeah,
Like when you're stressed, like when we talk about
it's
go
pretty
back to the
funny.
stress
Yeah,
conversation, if he's overstressed, like his aura ring will tell him, and it actually told him like a couple days before he got sick
yeah.
that
Most recently
that
when I
his
got sick, yeah,
biometrics were off and he was
yeah,
about to get sick.
yeah. Well, even then, I can like it's nice because I also view it as it's telling me how well I'm handling stress
Yeah,
as well. And there's certain days where like I see it's like super high, like
yeah,
I feel it,
yeah.
and I feel it before I look at it because I try to be very aware of like placebo and things like that. But just like it's so cool, like getting a data feed in real time on I don't know, just the heads up stuff. And like once again, when that thing triggered and it was like, hey, you need to rest, and I'm like, I feel great. What are you talking about? And then 2 days later, I'm just knocked down, KO'd in bed for like 3 days. I think back on that, I'm like, I wish I would have listened.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because I do feel like if you feel like there's any disconnect with how you're I don't know, with how in tune you are with your body, I do feel like the aura ring can be super valuable to just help you learn those trends.
Yeah.
I mostly like it for me. I like that it has the temperature tracking for women. So you can know what phases of your cycle you're in and if you're ovulating or not, things like that. I think that's super valuable because I'm not about to take my temperature every morning when I wake up. I'm just not that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not able to stick with that kind of habit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure.
So that's really cool. And the red light therapy sauna thing. You love that thing. We got
Yeah.
okay, so here's the thing.
I was very skeptical of that.
We both love to sauna.
Love it.
Um
That's a big thing. Yeah.
yeah, the sauna has been probably one of the
Every day.
most valuable health tools for both of us just
Yeah.
because it's that time where you can I don't know, you can just I don't bring my phone into the sauna because first off, it overheats. Second off, I
Yep.
like it to be more meditative and reflective when I'm in the sauna.
Mm-hmm.
But
And it's kind of just weak. Like you're in there to like suffer and sweat. So like if you aren't there to build your brain and you distract yourself with your phone, you're just cheating.
okay, next time I see you go in the sauna with your phone,
You know, you're like, don't be weak, babe.
I'm like, listen to yourself here on this podcast recording.
I know, right?
But not the funny thing is, but we both were super religious about going to the sauna. I started feeling really sick after I was going to the sauna at the local gym. And I started doing some research and I found that saunas can be one of the most mold filled places ever if they're not cared for
If they're not
properly.
maintained.
Yeah, if they're not
Yeah.
maintained properly, if they're not cleaned,
Which you can usually tell just by smelling it.
yes, it's
I can't smell. I can smell it there.
you could smell it at the gym.
Yeah, I mean, just a little bit. Like I could, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think about it because a lot of people they'll go swim laps in the pool or they'll go take a shower and they're soaking wet and then they go into the sauna and people are doing that all day long. So the sauna never gets a time during the day at a public place like that to totally dry out. And so it just starts being this really great environment for mold to grow in and that nasty, musty smell. And so I started getting really sick after I was going to the sauna, and I've never gotten sick after I've used saunas before.
Yep.
And I did this research and I found out that it can have all the mold in it. So I stopped doing that. And we live in we're in North Idaho and you wouldn't know it, but the weather here is very wet. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, I meet people here and they're like, I'll say, oh, it's really humid. And they're like, oh, it's not humid. It's just wet. And I'm like, I think it's the same thing. But I put these humidity readers all around our house and it was literally showing upwards of 50 to 70% humidity inside our house on certain days. And that's terrible. That's like a zone where mold really thrives. And if you want to learn more about that, listen to my mold episode. But if the sauna is never getting time to dry out, it's just going to be growing mold in this kind of environment. And so we didn't want to commit to getting like an outdoor sauna, and we live in a very tiny home, and so there's not a ton of room to get an indoor sauna. So what we opted for was this one by Sauna Space, and I'll link it in the show notes if you want to look at it yourself. But it's actually really cool because we were able to convert our really nice shower, a brand new shower, into a little sauna area with this canvas curtain, and then it's an infrared sauna, so you're getting the red light therapy with it, the full spectrum red light therapy, and you're heating it up in there. And I throw a couple heaters in the room too when I do it, just to make it a little bit warmer, but it's been really nice.
It has been.
Yeah.
It's a really easy way to like just use that space, you know?
Yeah.
Like I still feel like I definitely want to, you know,
Yeah.
drop $100,000 on a nice sauna.
100 grand.
No, I'm just exaggerating how expensive they are. 'Cause I can't believe how expensive they are for like wood
I know.
and some rocks, you know? I get it though. They're probably super worth it. But like when we get like a legit sauna,
Yeah.
you know, like I am gonna
Yeah.
look like the ambient temperature, I do love that.
Yes.
But, like this is great, you know?
Yes.
Like it really I was completely like, this is stupid. Are we really gonna try? Okay, fine, I'll try it. Like there's no way. It
Yeah.
works great. Yeah.
Get this, I found out the gym that we were going to
Yeah.
because we didn't have a shower for most of last year, so we had to go to the gym to shower, and that's where we were using the sauna. I found out they actually have lawsuits against them now for the black mold, and
Yeah, they did like shut down their pool and
yeah,
so they actually black mold there. So I was like, no wonder we were.
I'm like, dang, I
Yeah.
knew with my intuition this
Yeah.
whole time that something was off here.
No.
I felt so sick after I would go to the gym, and you should feel better after you go to the gym. And yeah, so that was kind of crazy. I feel validated. It's like, okay, my intuition was right. My body was telling me what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Least favorite health tools.
Least favorites. You might be better. Like, is there anything where I just roll my eyes every time? Least favorite health tool.
I don't know. A lot of the times I think I tell you things and you just kind of shake it off. And then later on you're like,
Okay,
oh, you're
so
actually
here's
right.
one thing that I need to get an EMF reader or something to overcome this, because the idea that EMFs can go through things that are wired makes no sense to me at all. Like, and it just kind of, when you're like, oh, if you get like the Starlink and you put it on our truck and you don't use Wi-Fi and you just hard code it and we're still gonna get fried, I'm like,
okay. I feel like maybe we need to settle this in the comments or of this podcast episode. So, and maybe okay, so here's the thing. We're going to be traveling a lot with our travel trailer again in the near future. And the thing is, I mean, we both work remote, so Taylor needs to be able to work and do things while he's in the car traveling.
Well, even then, it's just the heart. It's not even necessarily that. It's just that we travel all day for 5-6 hours. So when we do get somewhere, it's like then I need to take care of stuff, and so it just like shifts all my workload balance.
During the drive time,
it's just horrible. Where if I was just able to take care of stuff throughout the day,
it
could just be so much easier to just keep up on
yeah,
easy things and like just get bored. You know, sometimes when we're like in the middle of the Nevada desert, sometimes I'm just like, come on, I've seen this my whole life. You know?
Yeah,
So,
and there's no service for hours. So it makes sense. But okay, so Taylor wants to put this Starlink on top of our truck while we're driving.
Yeah, you can slide it into this big metal thing and it magnetizes to your roof. Yeah.
I just don't like the idea of this because in my mind, what I visualize is literally like the satellite.
Like the stars going right into the truck. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, has anyone done this? If you have, please comment on this episode because I need to know.
Yeah, I just want to get an EMF reader, put it in the car without it happening, be like, cool, here's the levels we already get anyways, and then hook the Starlink up, do my whole thing, and then turn it on and not see the levels go up at all. If
Okay,
they
then
go
you
up,
are going to hardwire the router. That's what you want to
yeah,
do. You want to hardwire the router with
yeah,
Ethernet.
yeah.
So we're not
I
going
don't
to
want
have
to box
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi in. Yeah, I don't
Probably.
want to box it in there.
Yeah.
Like that's horrible. It has a bypass mode, so I'll just plug it into a thing, and then just like this cable, it'll just go into my computer. Zero EMF, and we can be in the middle of the desert, and I'll still be able to do calls and make money.
I'm just nervous about those satellites like
Yeah, the
zapping.
Death Star lasers. Yeah, I mean they're coming to get you. But
Okay,
it's
wait.
just one of those things where I'm like, so least favorite holistic thing is like me trying to understand how EMFs can go through wires, like a closed system. Like it just doesn't compute with my brain because it's just like get better wires. I don't know, but I could be wrong.
We'll
Like
see.
I said, if I get proven wrong, it's like okay, cool.
We
You
will
know, but
keep
that one
you
it's really hard.
updated.
I'm very skeptical of that. You know,
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. What else? What do you think about homeopathy? So I'm in a 2-year practitioner course for homeopathy, and I'm learning how to integrate that into my practice with hair tissue mineral analysis and all of that. So it's been a fairly new wellness tool we've added to our life over the last year.
I mean, I like it.
Yeah.
I feel kind of neutral. The hard thing for me with it is how much of it is like placebo, because I'll do stuff and I'm like, oh, that worked. Then I'm like, how much is that? Like, so I'm just, I'm such a cynic, you know, that it's hard for me to be like, is that placebo or is it legit? But there's been enough times
Yeah.
it has helped that I'm like, okay, it's probably legit. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
it's just hard for me to like judge my own perceptions. You know,
Yeah.
I don't trust myself.
Well, but then does it even really matter if it is placebo or not? If it
Well, I
helps
do
and
agree
it
with
works?
that. Yeah, it's like there's this general philosophy that I like where like, does it matter if you should operate your life with certain beliefs regardless of if they're true or not, right?
Yeah.
Like if you like you should believe that every gun is loaded and can fire at any time, even though that's not true,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And I remember it's similar to that. As a quick note on this topic, kind of, but like I remember talking to a buddy like 10 years ago, and I was like, I mean, I would just believe in God, just even if I didn't, just because like your odds of going to eternity go from zero, literally nothing, to like possible. So why not do the thing that's like possible,
Right.
right? So there are certain things where it's like, regardless of beliefs, or sorry, regardless of truth, like if the placebo helps you,
Proof.
all for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Totally.
She didn't prep me at all for this, by the way. She's just shooting. She showed up like 5 minutes before,
Yeah.
and I'm like, so what are you talking about? She was like, you'll see.
What else should we talk about? What's it like? What's it like being married to like a health nut?
I think it's great. Yeah. I mean, you want someone that has similar values, and like I remember an old a buddy of mine being like, dude, when you get married, you can't lie anymore. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you have no idea how many lies you tell yourself that you believe, you know? And so it's great, you know? Like I on a deeper level, you know, like don't remember what I'm about to say, but like on a deeper level, I like when you're nitpicky about health, you know, because it is something that I care about, you know.
Yeah.
And there's just, you know, there's times where I'm like, man, I gotta get 3 hours of sleep tonight in order to get XYZ done. So I'm gonna sacrifice that sleep, you know. And so, which I know you hate, but that's good though, you know. And so overall, I don't think there's a single thing that I dislike about that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it just makes you better, and there's, you know, uh, a good marriage is there to make each individual better.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, right? So yeah, it's great. 10 out of 10. Would advise anyone to get married to a health nut. It'll feel great, especially if you're kind of chubby, like hardcore. Do it. You'll lose a ton of weight.
You'll have better resiliency. You won't have brain fog.
Yeah, it's true. You
You
know,
get 3 square meals a day.
I mean, it is crazy though, because like the last year, I have been grinding, like waking up at like 4 a.m., going to bed at 8. Basically, the first hour of the day is feeding the dogs and feeding myself, prepping coffee, just kind of slow. Then go right into calls back to back to back, and I can hang through all of them, and I'm sharp,
Yeah.
and I feel really good. And I get to the end of the day, I don't feel fatigued from my work. I'm also lucky right now that the work I have is very recharging. Like in the grand scheme of things, it's like 10% super stress. How am I gonna I mean, that's just entrepreneurship though. You go from, I'm going to go out of business to like, I'm going to 10x my business today, and it just goes back and forth almost day to day sometimes. Like, but yeah, I'll get to the end of my day and I feel great, and then I wake up the next day and do it again. And, been doing that for almost 2 years straight now. Very much looking forward to actually having some like 2 weeks off next, when we go on our 5-year anniversary. That'll be sick.
Yeah.
But like, I think the fact that I can just like grind and like work really excellently and stay sharp and be very creative. I mean, there's no way I'd be able to do any of that if I didn't have like my health together,
Totally.
No way.
I'm thinking about back to when we first met, like certain things we did, because I was not into the whole holistic health world. I mean, I always wanted to try to do things more naturally when possible, and I ate a very well-rounded diet, things like that. But I mean, I wasn't paranoid about it, or like, I don't know. I don't even like saying paranoid. I wasn't like
You can say
super
paranoid.
aware
I think you're
of.
certainly paranoid sometimes.
I think I'm paranoid because I see how much my health has gone downhill from my environment and stress.
Yeah.
And so when my body is in a low resiliency state, it's like, okay, I need to do everything I possibly can to create more energy at a cellular level and to support my body. And I need to get it back up to a good base level so I can better tolerate more stress in the future and more things, and then kind of widen my scope more. So I feel like right now, because of all the mold stuff, I'm in like a really narrow hallway in the holistic health world where it's like, I need to be strict and I need to be particular about certain things because my body just can't handle the extra stress right now. But as I continue to go forward, my goal is to greatly widen that so I can have more resiliency.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think about like when we first were dating, there were a few things. So let's see. I feel like I used to eat a lot of Chick-fil-A. That is
you were
something.
a Red Club member?
I don't
or
even know
something,
if it was
whatever it's
Red
called.
Club or Gold Club or what it was, but I was up there and I was dang proud of that.
Yeah, you were.
But the funny thing is, okay, right around this time, life was really crazy for us. We were living in Reno, Nevada, and I'm not really a city person. I've always been in very small mountain towns. So being in the city was really major and kind of, not kind of, but was extremely stressful for me. But that's where Taylor was from, and that's where we met. And so you hadn't really ventured much out of the city then. So I would eat Chick-fil-A a lot. I was working in the hospital. I was also doing personal training, and I was also doing ski patrol. And then I just started having all these major health issues because I pretty much was just overworking, overstressed, and I was just eating too much Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. Yep.
Pretty much we were both just workaholics. We were working so much that we just would eat out pretty much every meal.
Yeah.
And like get fast food. Not like, I guess fast food.
Fast food. Like we wouldn't necessarily intentionally eat at good spots. Like eventually we did start doing that, right? But like I'd go downstairs to Bab Cafe every day and I'm sure their sauce was not good. And their fried chicken was not good. Right? Eventually we started going to, homegrown gastropub and farm to table stuff or whatever. But like when we first started, we were pretty basic.
And Moxie, so our dog Moxie, she was so obese.
This fat, tubby lard.
She was only like 3 years old, 3.5, 4.
Yeah, I think she's 4.
And I would take her on hikes in Reno, and people would literally be like, "Oh my gosh, how old is your old dog?" And I'm like, "Oh, she's only 4."
I remember when Mike and Josh and their wives stopped by my place, and I was watching Moxie, and they're like, "Oh, how old's Moxie? Like, is she like getting near the end?" And I'm like, "Dude, she's like 4." And they're like, "Oh, little chubby Moxie," and like they were like, they weren't being mean. They're super playful people. Like, I love it. And just the way that they were talking about, I just think back to that, I'm like, she was so fat.
She was.
She's like, what? She's 85 pounds now, 90 pounds, and she used to be like 130?
She was almost 120 pounds at one point, I think. Oh my gosh.
A dog being 30, 40 pounds overweight?
So
like, now she's like a puppy, It is pretty crazy. Like, it's one of those things where, it was really tough at first, especially financially. Like, do you want to spend $800 a month on raw food for my dog. Are you kidding me? And I'm glad
Yeah.
we did it and like figured it out. Because once again, like we were very broke
We
when we
were
first got together for
very
sure.
broke. And I
Well,
think
and
that's
like,
why we were working so much, was like
yeah,
we wanted to be able to afford the nicer things, and
yeah,
we were just working ourselves into the ground.
yeah. Well, and then like shortly after we got married, you couldn't work because you had your
Yeah.
hip surgery.
Right.
So all of a sudden it was like I have to do that, and I have to take care of you, and I got to take care of the dogs, and
Yeah.
that was a fun period of life. That was tough.
Yeah. I mean, we've
Yeah,
had a lot of stressors.
but super worth it because like she would get skinny, she would start
Yeah.
losing weight, and once again, like I think the bad things in life prepare you for the great things in life, and
Yeah.
looking back, I'm like thankful for those things that made me grow and figure stuff out and like
Right.
grow my character more. But like even in the moment, it's super worth it because you see her. She just started acting like a puppy again and hopping
Yeah.
around. She runs around the property now. She just
Yeah.
turned 10. What, yesterday? Did we say
Yeah,
a
she
couple
had a
days ago?
10th
Celebrated her
birthday
birthday.
a couple days ago. Yeah.
Gave her a little stuffed birthday
Yeah.
cake. And then this guy, Akari here, he man, I remember even just 2 years ago, we didn't put him on the roster because like, oh, he doesn't have allergies,
Yeah.
and he didn't. But I remember he would not want to eat,
Yeah, he wouldn't eat the kibble.
especially because he could see that like what pots he was getting, and like, and then finally we're just like, okay, let's do the raw stuff with him.
Yeah.
And he just sits there and he just drools now all over himself every time I'm preparing their food. And it doesn't take long to prepare for it. You just get the meat, put it in hot water, it thaws a little bit, cut it
Yeah.
up so they can eat it a little bit better, and then it takes me like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like we've totally dialed our systems.
Easy now.
We
Yeah.
used to spend an entire day meal prepping for the
Like every
dogs
2 weeks.
every couple weeks for the
Horrible. Like 6 hour
yeah,
endeavor, chopping up all these
chop up the
vegetables,
vegetables.
grilling up all this cod and this
Yeah.
stinky fish, and horrible.
Yeah, but honestly, I feel like that was like our gateway into taking a
The
more
holistic stuff,
yeah,
though,
into
right?
more holistic
Yeah.
approaches because we actually
Crazy.
found a holistic vet for Motzi, and Motzi started going
And
to
she came around, and I'm
acupuncture.
like, maybe there's something to this stuff. Maybe I shouldn't be eating cereal.
Yeah,
Dogs eat
we were
kibble.
literally feeding our dog organic meat and vegetables before we were eating organic.
It's crazy. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And so I think when we realized, like, okay, our dog is eating better than us, her macros are better than ours. We need to do something to
Yeah.
shift our diet
Yeah.
and to get healthier.
Yeah, and it's tough too because it's like when you're broke, you just got to do whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
But like you just owe it to like yourself and your family to like figure out how to make money and be
Yeah.
really productive to society, so that way you can just take care. Just the fact, just if you could have organic food, it's so
Yeah.
worth any of the strife to like go through, and you got to do what you got to do when you're in that moment.
Yeah.
Just like when I used to eat these healthy bars that I thought were great.
Oh my gosh. He would just eat
Oh my
protein
gosh.
bars for every meal, and it just killed me
Yeah,
because
each one was $2.50. So help me
oh
in
my
that season of
gosh.
life.
Yeah. So crazy. So we've come a long ways since then, and I feel like our dogs honestly triggered us down this path. And then
So funny, yeah.
when everything with COVID happened, and then I had a major hip surgery, it was like, okay, we got to shift some things around here.
Yeah.
I literally couldn't work, and so that was another big stressor. But
Hmm.
my body also needed a lot more nourishment at that time because I think just going through that hip surgery just really depleted me of a lot of
I
things.
mean, yeah. I mean, thank God we could even make it through that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But then I was able to that led me into learning all about minerals' impact on the body and like
Yep.
calcifications, all of these health issues I was dealing with like calcifications and bone spurs and things like this all have minerals at the root cause of the problem. And well, I mean, you could even go past the minerals as the root cause and have like emotions and stress and overwork and what's depleting those minerals and energy and frequency and all of these things, which I'm learning now more with homeopathy, is how I can put the two together, homeopathy and minerals. But that led me down this whole thing and then really just consumed a lot of my life to figure out like how can we better support ourselves, like so we can have more resiliency and so we can actually have the energy we want to do things and
Hmm.
recover well.
Hmm.
So yeah, grateful for the struggle because it definitely brought us to where we're at. It pushed us into a very uncomfortable spot
Hmm.
that made us be proactive about getting our crap together.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we don't have our crap together still.
No, we're
Let's
perfect.
be
No.
honest. But figuring things out along the way, because if we would have been comfortable, I think it would have been easy to be comfortable when we were living in Reno to a certain extent, and we could have just chilled there for a while.
Yep.
But then we wouldn't have had the to like go build our own businesses and to actually create more time freedom for ourselves where we can actually travel and work remote on the road and still be able to do things like I can still help people in consultations and do all the holistic health stuff while on the road, and you can still do things with
Do
your
whatever I do.
business.
Yeah.
Whatever you do.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Do
Yeah.
your tech world things.
Yeah, it's amazing how every bad thing leads to a good thing.
Yeah,
You know?
for sure.
And even if that's not true, it's a good way to believe.
Yeah.
You'll have a much better life.
Yeah, for sure. I just always think like I'm going through the thick of it now, so there's got to be something better on the other side. So, yeah.
What are you working on this year when it comes to your health? Like, what are the big things? Obviously, just like getting through mold remediation, right? But what are the big highlight things, like the major stamps that you're like using to guide you? You know?
Yeah, I think the main things for me are clearing a lot of my backstory and a lot of the things I think in my past that are really shaping how I'm responding to things with my health in the present. So using homeopathy quite a bit to help, whether it's detoxing vaccinations or helping me through. I mean, I feel like ever since we both got COVID, we both kind of had weird health flares. Like now, every time I get sick, my kidneys get super sore. And that's how I know I'm getting sick. And then when we got our house tested for all the molds and I did my own mycotoxin panel, I found that the molds that we're dealing with in our home and in my mycotoxin panel both have an affinity for the immune system and the kidneys. And so I think just a major focus of mine this year is to really just support my kidneys and my immune system as much as possible. I've added a lot more antioxidants to my diet, lots of more fruits and veggies, and I still have been eating fruits and vegetables the last couple of years, but I've upped that significantly. So to make sure I'm getting more antioxidants and those minerals and nutrients, and then really just supporting my gut health, and then monitoring those with the hair tissue mineral analysis and in the GI map through my practice. I think those are my main focuses for this year.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, last year's been different because I haven't had a second car. Doing the remodel in the home, but I haven't had a place to like create my ideal office setup. I'm actually what I'm building right now for the office setup, right? I basically got a shed on the property, hooked up power to it, stuff like that. But get a nice standing desk, get a walking pad that I can put underneath it, which that's another thing that I've converted all my friends, on all my peers, is like I'm converting all of them into getting standing desks and walking pads.
Yes, I love
underneath their
it.
desk, and it's like one of the best things you could ever do. You just do a slow walk; it's easier to walk and talk. At least I'm that way. Like I'm way better on the phone if I'm pacing, way better. And otherwise, I'll just get distracted. I'll accidentally open up a browser as I'm talking to somebody and like look at the next thing on my to-do list. Versus if I'm walking, it's like, cool, I'm busy. And so, anyways, do that. But then also, it's gonna be. I mean, I'm stoked for my office because like in one edge of my camera, you're gonna see my drum set just a little bit. The other edge of my camera, I'm gonna have that rogue rack so I can do pull-ups and lift weights and all of that kind of stuff. And so I feel like when I have that dialed in, like I can't wait to do that. 'Cause I wish the gyms around here were better, but I can't wait till you build. When are we getting Mountain Lux Fit? You know?
You can't tell the listeners about our future business plans.
No, I can't.
I don't know.
I think it's a great idea. If there's anyone listening, I mean, if you need to,
Secrets
want to
out.
help raise some funding.
Don't steal
you
my.
talk about this with people?
No, because
I shouldn't say the name. Is that the thing?
who knows? Who knows what's in the future?
It's not the ideas about business; it's the implementation. the implementation that people don't have.
Right. I know. I feel like I'm always so torn about like wanting to keep traveling around, but also wanting to build more businesses to be an asset to the community, which I think we can find a space in the future where we are able to do both. But I think that'll be after we do a home remodel and kind of build back our foundations a little bit more.
Yeah. Like my immediate things are like, I need to figure out what kind of flooring I'm going to put in, since I guess rubber is going to kill me. But like, it makes sense. It actually makes sense that like, ground up old tires probably aren't going to be the best floor, but I got to find something that's like, I was really stoked on that idea.
I know,
So I got to get that, install the rogue rack, have a walking pad. I'm going to be so dialed in. But then also if I can get a car and then start regularly going to town and like get into fighting again. Oh,
yeah,
I'll be in heaven. Yeah, if I do that, I'll be the nicest guy in the world.
Goals.
Yeah, for real.
Well, that's great. I think those are awesome goals. I also just feel like when we go back traveling on the road again, I feel like we're so active because we're always taking the dogs out. We always want to explore new places, and then
hiking around.
We either have our mountain bikes or our skis or both, and we just are always going out doing things.
That's another thing I'm stoked for this year. Having a bike park 5 minutes away from our house. I can't believe we moved to a spot where we're going to have that. So we'll just be able to mob and mountain bike.
We do live in one of the best mountain biking towns, in my opinion. I've lived in a lot of areas where you can mountain bike, and the mountain bike trails here.
Mountain biking would be dope.
We didn't know that.
We had no idea.
Yeah. Goals, get our health in a position where we can handle the intense mountain biking this year.
Yeah.
At the mountain bike park.
Yeah.
And if we crash and get concussed again, we can recover. We can recover and we can help ourselves regenerate and be great.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Goals.
Yeah. So I'm excited for this year. We're right about to. I have like one more big expense for the house, and then it's like.
Yeah. Then we can more so focus on ourselves and not the whole hustle of everything, but really enjoy where we're at and the businesses we've built and helping people and all of that. Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
you help them with health. I help them with wealth.
Our new tagline.
Maybe. That's true. It's pretty cool thinking about like how much money my clients make because of our work.
Yeah.
Like I still can't believe how much revenue we're able to create for clients, and they have to have a good business. But like, it's cool. We've generated like probably tens of millions in annual recurring revenue for other people.
That's super exciting.
And I like that. That's another thing I like about entrepreneurship. Like I remember someone interviewing Jeff Bezos and being like, "Oh, how does it feel being the richest man in the world when there's starving children in Africa?" And he was just like, "It feels great." And I was like, "How can you say that?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, I mean, I'm a minority owner in Amazon, and so when you say Amazon is worth whatever he said, 10 billion, or it's probably worth way more than that, but like when you say it's worth that, like I'm only worth 10% of that, and so I generated, 90 billion in wealth for other people."
Yeah.
That's entrepreneur. Like people don't become anybody who's self-made, someone who like maybe inherits or like does other stuff or whatever. It's like, okay, sure, like maybe you can pass judgment, but even then, like why judge? But like someone who's like self-made, like they didn't just make something that is not valuable to the world and people just gave them money for it.
Yeah. People
like,
had to see value.
Yeah. There's not. It's really. I remember used to be thinking like that rich people just have to be evil growing up, and then meeting good people where it's. I mean, I haven't met like a wealthy, and when I say wealth, I mean like 5 walks of life as well. Wealth like good marriage and good health, and they have good finances, and they have good spiritual walk, and forgetting one, but. Like when they actually have, like they've always been good people.
Relationships.
Yeah, they've like no one makes it to the top by screwing people over and being wrong. Like you can't do that because too many people.
It doesn't last long if you do make.
Yeah. Like someone doing something. I mean, like someone doing something wrong, they always pay their due.
Yeah. In some way, shape, or form. Totally.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just one of those things where. It's really cool because you see, I meet so many other entrepreneurs that are just so far ahead of me, and it's just like, wow, like every time I meet them, I'm like, wow, you're like a really good person who just treats people right.
Yeah.
And I've never met a wealthy person who was a scumbag. That was like a self-made person. Just never met one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm sure I'll be proven wrong, but
Yeah. Okay, so I always end every podcast episode by having the guests share 3 practical tips to move forward in their wellness journey. Things that they can either apply right away or that are easy to grasp. That you would recommend. And I mean, you could just simply share 3 things that work really well for you that you think other people should do, or 3 takeaways you've had in your wellness journey, something like that.
I think first thing that comes to mind is going to bed early and waking up early. So much better. And I'm a night owl type.
Yeah.
And like there's just something amazing about waking up at 4 a.m. and no one's bugging me for anything. I can just get stuff done. And then before anyone's awake, I already have 3 hours of stuff in and all my big work for the day done. And people are still just waking up, you know?
Yeah.
And I just noticed I just feel better versus like just, I mean, even when I was staying up late, I don't know anybody who stays up late that isn't just pounding their dopamine into themselves, like watching something or scrolling their phone or playing, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know anybody that just like stays up late reading a book. And if that is you, like, super.
That's amazing.
You know? Yeah, that's great. Like most people, it's like, no, you like stay up late because like you're just addicted to something digital, you know? And there's always exceptions, right? So like that's one thing. And then I think the second thing would be, I'm going to kind of combine some of these, but like barefoot shoes, Vivos, and like standing at a desk all day and like being engaged and just avoid sitting with everything you can possibly do is huge. I mean, I was even talking to our contractor the other day and he was talking about gaming and he was like, "Oh yeah, I stand while I game." And I'm like, hell yeah, dude. That's amazing. Like, yeah, damn right. Heck yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah. He's like, I'll do like forced squats where you kind of squat down halfway and like you're doing like an air thing. I'm like, heck yeah, man. That's so badass. Let's go.
Active gaming.
Yeah.
Let's just start a trend.
And then I think the last thing, I really do like certain supplementation. So like I really do think creatine does a lot for me right now, just primarily for mental benefits.
Yeah.
Let alone, I do know it's like strength stuff because I have noticed I haven't been able to like be as consistent in the gym the last year. And like I'll go back to the gym and I'm still just as strong. And it's really interesting to me. You know, so maybe it's some of that. I'm not saying it's all that, but just like, you know, it's something that I've been pretty consistent with for the last year or two. And I feel good all the time. So I'm like, okay, that's a common thing that I've done. Maybe it is that. I don't know. But I know how much stuff I've read about, like how much it's good for people.
Yeah.
I don't know, those are my 3. I guess I would say like sleep well, stand well, and drink creatine.
Great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fun, babe. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And if you listened to this and you enjoyed it, please let us know. I always love to hear what you took away from the episode. Please leave a review because that actually is huge for my podcast. And just as being business owners ourselves, reviews and word of mouth just are the hugest ways of marketing for us. And so we would love that if you would leave a review of this podcast, share it with your friends. And
can you subscribe to podcasts? Is that what it's called?
Oh yeah, you can subscribe.
Yeah, you gotta subscribe, the notifications on, whatever. I watch enough and listen enough podcasts to know, right?
Yeah.
But it's true though. Like it's like you gotta turn it on so like you actually just get it in the feed, you know?
Yeah.
You talk about cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, thanks, babe.
Yeah, I mean, like just how many you primarily work with women, but like just how many women, like just how like life-changing I've seen you help other women. So you do a great job, babe.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, we'll catch you all on the next episode of the Holistic Ascent podcast. Thanks all.